Gross.
Okay.
No, my food came with me.
Okay.
I think so. I got handed it.
You like hot words.
Okay, so first and foremost, I just kind of wrote down a couple facts about Nebbiolo, which most people know. It stems from the word nebbia, which is the Italian word for fog. And something I didn't know about this was during the harvest of the Nebbiolo grape itself, it gets coated with like a white, almost powder-like bloom, which is originally where that came from, but then also the region where it's typically grown is above fog areas, which is what I was taught originally. The Nebbiolo varietal is grown in Piedmont more than anywhere else in the world. And rarely grown anywhere else in Italy. The grape is super finicky. It prefers hillside locations with clay or silt soil structure. It flowers early and ripens late. So it is harder to produce, which is why a lot of people don't grow it. It is also considered a terroir expressive grape, which is another reason why I wanted to focus on soil structure today too, which basically means that it will pick up earth, soil, and climate characteristics.
Does everybody know what terroir means? Because you can say no. No? So terroir is a French term meaning like the earth, the soil. So like that's what you taste in the wine. That's why we talk about region so much, because the soil is different in Piedmonte in the north, in the mountains, than in the south where it's hot. So that's what people talk about the terroir a lot. And that, just so you know what it means, that's basically.
You can taste
like in Tuscany, you can taste the clay,
or
yes.
like gravel,
yeah, or
like
limestone.
Like that's the sense of place. And people, when they really get into it, can tell you what a grape is just from like blindly drinking it. So like that is a real thing.
If you want to start playing the Longue Nebbiolo, we'll start with the G-Fire Longue. So typical notes of Nebbiolo are always going to be rose, cherry, leather, clay pot, and anise.
Rose. Can you repeat those?
Yeah, sorry, I just said it fast. Rose, cherry,
Oops.
leather, clay pot, and anise.
Does everybody know what anise
I
is?
hear coffee a lot too.
That's like licorice, black licorice. Look at my best.
Need for 2 glasses. Why you need a glass? Oh wait, Charles.
Somebody can have mine. I don't wanna.
Charles and Navarre need a
I
glass.
took yours.
Oh, okay. There's 2 in front of me.
Sorry
guys,
about
so-
the weird glass here.
Man,
Here's what I have.
it works.
And then just another thing about Nebbiolo, which we all should know by now, is that it's high in tannins. Which means for food pairing, you don't want to pair it with anything too lean. You want something rich in butter, fats, and olive oil.
Can you repeat that, sorry?
High tannins, so for food pairings, you want something rich in butter, fat, and olive oil. Something I usually say to my tables who are like don't know about Nebbiolo is I literally just say it's the big red grape of northern Italy, or a noble grape. It's what the kings and queens used to drink back in the day. And what is different about it is it has 3 seeds instead of 2, which offers an extra tannic value to the wine itself. So it drinks like a light bodied, but stays on the palate like a heavy bodied. That's usually how I explain it. As you can see, the wine is really pale in color, so people tend to think that it's going to be a light wine. But Nebbiolo just it starts as a really rich wine when they first produce it, and it like loses color. Does anyone else have anything else that they usually say?
all the 7,000, I think, something like that, varietals, there's only like 7 of them that have that extra seed. So it's super duper rare to have that extra seed, and it really is part of what gives it the tannins, but also the longer harvest gives it more a thicker skin, which also gives it more tannins. And the tannins is that sweater tongue feeling, the dryness. Hold on, we lost our thing.
You can put it in the kitchen.
Oh, I like it.
Oh.
We lost our
So
toy.
how long is it harvest?
We lost it.
usually?
It's just like one of the latest ones to
Latest
to
ones
ripen.
to-
Yeah, because of the fog, I think it like doesn't get enough sun or something, and so it's one of the late. But when you say the kings and queens, that's because Nebbiolo is Barolo and Barbaresco. Barolo being the king of Italian wines, Barbaresco being the queen. It's all Nebbiolo grape, all depending on age and location, so it's all the same thing.
Don't some people call it baby Barolo?
Yeah, some people do, but
Yeah.
yes. So technically it is, but that's why it's like the Roman or the regal kings and queens, because Nebbiolo is. Kevin Hart hates when I say it but Nebbiolo is more masculine. Barbaresco is more feminine. It's more floral. It's more a little bit less aggressive, like a lady.
If I remember right from my mentors, there's a very late harvest, and they a lot of time will lose their harvest to hailstorms.
And like get like not rot, but like when it smashes the hail smashes it open or whatever, it bruises everything.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Miss Ma'am, get it.
So we'll start with Longue Nebbiolo, which is obviously our on menu glass port. And we also offer by the bottle. Produced by Vajra. 100% Nebbiolo. This is in your Google specs. Sorry I didn't print anything out this time. I was a little less prepared this time than I was last time. But the specs say it is medium bodied, medium to high fruit, medium to high earth, medium to high tannins, medium to high acid, and light oak. We also went over this one when we did wine class, and something I specifically remember Kyle saying was that it's bright, because I always thought of it as like a more balanced wine, just because I feel like it's a really approachable way to try Nebbiolo for the first time. But it is more like acid driven for the expression itself.
That's why it compares
you
with
could,
food.
yeah, like you could drink this with the steak, and like your mouth's like covered in that like grill flavor, and like, you know what I mean, and then all that fat, and like you don't have a palate, and then you drink something like this and it just like wipes your mouth clean, but then the tannin's there, so it's like this whole experience, like where you're like eating food and then drinking your wine and like re-experiencing everything all over again.
Same thing with the truffles, because the truffle's so rich and buttery that it, whisks it all off your tongue and gets you ready for the next bite.
So before everybody drinks this, why don't we smell it first and see what you get on the nose, and then go into what you get on the palate and see like who's driving the bus. Is it like the nose? Is it the earth? Is it the fruit?
Look, I'm holding and pouring.
Because sometimes you can smell things that you don't taste and taste things that you don't smell.
I don't know.
So as far as smell goes, candy cherry is what I'm picking up. Very bright cherry.
Yeah, definitely burnt cherry.
Leather.
I was gonna say leather too. You can definitely like smell that like leather, earthy tones to it.
Tar.
And something that when I was just starting to get into wine, it took me a while to like for the group as well, like to be open, willing to say like just a guess, there's no wrong answer. We would actually take time. One of the sommeliers that taught me was like, it smells like rainbow unicorn farts on a strawberry plant. Like just say something ridiculous and don't be ashamed of it. That's what you smell. That's what you get. how you interpret this one.
I started watching, or I watched them all the song, like movies.
Oh, they're so
And I'm like,
crazy.
what? What
Yeah,
do you guys
the
even
shit
like?
they
And like the
pull out.
inside of the tennis ball.
I
that's
know,
been
the
sitting out in
rubber
rain for
tennis
3
ball
days.
one.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? What are you watching?
It's
It's
like-
called Psalm on Netflix.
There's
It's
like
because
three
like
of
those are
them.
the people
Yeah.
that like walk around and smell everything.
Yeah.
They're like walking on a hike and they're like picking up a rock and smelling it. And be like, oh yeah, I'm saving that for later.
The one dude was like, right when the water comes out of a hose that's
Yeah.
been sitting out all summer or some shit.
Okay.
I'll take the filtered water.
I know what that smells like. I know what that smells like. I took my hose off yesterday. I took everything down.
Does anybody get flowers? Any like dried floral notes?
A little potpourri.
We'll jump into the
If you
Bengals
look
cups
at
and
the,
you.
if you guys look at the label on the Vajra, it always has flowers on it to reflect the flowers, it's the region, and there's like one of his Barolos that's the Brigida Violetta, which means like the land of violets, and it's got violets all over the label, so it kind of helps you to remember. If you look at it, it's got flowers on it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
No, Longhay is the region.
Longay is the river that
river.
flows through the region.
Okay.
So yeah, we can start talking about soil structure as we start to move into these other wines because that's kind of what mostly sets them apart, or well, that is what sets them apart is the region that they're grown in. So let's talk about Piedmont first and foremost. Pi translates to foot, Mont translates to mountains. So AKA it's the foot of the mountains. So this area sits on the backside of the Alps. It's the second largest land body of Italy after Sicily, and it has the largest number of DOCGs in Italy.
Second largest what?
Like land mass, like land body. Mm-hmm.
Are these things that you came up with on
Yeah.
here? Can you like send those out?
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
They're literally like bullet points, and I just remembered like to talk.
Okay.
But I can. So this area itself is flat plains surrounded by mountains. The whole area of Piedmont, pretty much. So in origin, the Alps drew the edges of a huge bay 30 million years ago, which was covered by an ocean called T-Tide, which isn't necessarily information you need to know. I just thought that it was cool. Like, so at the end of the day, it used to all be covered in water, literally. So that's where the soil really comes from in this area. Where the Alps began to elevate was where the waves would crash. The remaining central body of Piedmont was slowly filled with sediments brought down by rivers and then later eroded. The former sea, floods, erosion, and earthquakes gave this area an extremely unique soil, or soil composition, which is why the wines are well regarded and the white truffles are able to grow here.
Can you repeat that last one?
The former sea, floods, erosion, and earthquakes gave this area an extremely unique soil composition, which is why the wines are well regarded and white truffles are able to grow here. So obviously Piedmont is the area that Roero and Barbaresco comes from, which is the highest end wine coming from Italy. And this is the only area in the world where white truffles grow. So this soil is extremely unique and different from any soil anywhere else in the world.
Oh meow.
Is this
Yes, snacks.
Yes.
I gotta close tonight. Say hi to Claudia.
And you girls do too.
I got a close too.
I'm
Damn.
close. No, you girls do too.
God, I forgot.
Do it.
Let's go it out.
I already drank it.
So we'll start with the Long Day region, just because obviously we started with the Long Day wine. So the Long Day region is unique because the hillsides rise steeply on one side and then they drop gradually.
Can you repeat that?
The hillsides rise steeply on one side and drop gradually on the other side. Longay is believed to be a Celtic origin for tongues of land because of the steep hillsides and raised valleys. And the reason that there are steep hillsides and raised valleys is because most of the soil has a higher clay composition. That's what's unique about this soil structure, is that it's heavier in clay composition. And like we said, this is the region where Barolo and Barbaresco are found. We kind of already hit on this a little bit, so I'll just say it again. Barolo, like Hillary said, is more masculine and often referred to as king. Barbaresco is more feminine and referred to as queen.
And that just has to do with the region.
Yes, and also there's like a certain amount of aging requirements before it can be called Nebbiolo. Or that's yes.
Yeah. So Barolo is 2 years in barrels and 2 year in barrel and 1 year in bottle, and this one can have a longer cellar age. Barbaresco is 1 year in barrel, 1 year in bottle, and it is more of like a readily, it can be enjoyed younger.
Right.
Yeah.
And oftentimes should be. This one doesn't really have a very long cellar age to it.
Really?
Does she want some pizza?
Yeah.
You can eat that.
But she doesn't like roses.
That's my first serving job.
She likes the sauce.
So with a Barolo, like how long do they say is like the best time to forever?
15 years.
15 to
years
30.
drink it?
Yeah, because it mellows out those tannins.
Yeah.
Makes it not so aggressive.
Right.
But it only takes
Yeah.
2 years in barrel.
But
and
they're-
2 years
they're-
in
they're-
barrel.
That's
meant
like
to
the
be laid down for like
that's what it
30
has to
years.
have.
Okay.
But we don't have none of them because then they're
Which
really
one's the
expensive.
next
years
Tiny
to
little
drink?
tiny.
Next
Not
one
bad.
we're gonna do Roero.
Roero.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to go into Barolo and Barbaresco's more
Okay.
in the this is Nebbiolo part 1.
Right.
I'm gonna try to do a part 2. The only reason I didn't do Barolo and Barbaresco today is because we don't have a Barolo aged long enough to stand up to the Barbaresco that we offer on menu. But I'm just gonna
Yes, ma'am.
probably grab the trophy on it.
wait. There's still like gross.
Which is
Obviously, it's not like a
Yes.
great explanation of, it's a really young Barolo, but just to be able to give you guys an understanding of that. If you guys are hungry or whatever, keep eating. That's why I like to offer food here, just because, so that you can see how the wine affects when you are eating.
I was gonna
Because that's,
say,
we work in a restaurant.
Nebbiolo was good.
Does
with
it go with
pizza.
the roses?
Yeah,
It does go with the
it went
roses.
really
I hope she got that
good.
traditional crust. That's the only way to
sauce.
go. I mean,
I did, traditionally.
you're a Cincinnati girl, you know.
I was gonna say, where'd that come
He
from?
brought his own toys.
Shut up. You did not bring that.
Came from
That's second one.
Whoa,
California.
that's a big cup.
So Longay, I feel like, is the area that we as a service team are most familiar with. Does anyone have anything else to add about the Longay region? Or I probably won't be able to answer your
Doesn't it mean
question.
tongues of the land? or
Yeah.
something like that?
So it's believed to be a Celtic origin for tongues of land.
Yeah.
It's because of steep hillsides and raised
And
valleys.
it's all the riverbeds or all the water that.
It's like steps. If you look at pictures of that area, which Eric actually sent me a link for, so we can pull that up if we have some time after.
Cool.
But it's literally the vineyards look like
Yeah.
steps, and it's because the soil is clay, so it can mold easily
Oh,
like
so
that.
it's terraced basically. It's kind
Almost.
yeah.
I think similar.
Sour cherries.
So yeah,
What do we have next?
Tart cherries.
this is the Malvira, Roero.
Oh, that one's real aggressive.
I guess not. I guess smell has it.
What year is this one?
2005. I probably should have opened it forever
I
ago.
had 2006 already. That's cheese.
So what do you guys
I might
smell?
not be a mom, but I know how to hold a baby.
Acid. Yeah. Tart cherries, cranberries.
I mean, you can definitely tell from me, like you can tell this is an older
Do you
one.
not?
Yeah.
Like, she likes to grab all of
Smoke.
that.
Smoke, yeah, that's a good one.
Again,
It's the
like,
one-
It smells like
picking
burnt
up,
tar.
like almost
Mm-hmm.
like
Barbecue.
slightly
Yeah.
slightly stewed Michigan cherries. It's a little bit sweeter.
Michigan cherry.
Oh.
What is no idea?
Sweeter, higher.
A sweeter.
Glad to be there.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Gracie's fucking.
Only in Michigan.
Does anyone get plum? Or no? Is it just me?
Come again?
There it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, some.
Yeah.
Kind of
That's what I
back.
heard.
Have some.
It tastes way different than it smells.
That's,
Yeah.
It's not as full bodied as like early drinking as I was expecting. And it's not as
But the tannins only hit you afterwards.
Did you get this from work or did
Yeah,
you buy
that's
this someplace
the
else?
No, I got it from work.
like way after.
Yeah.
We have those in boxes.
I don't
Like,
know.
way
I've never seen
after.
it. I know that the wines from Roero are always like more acid,
I
more
feel like the
tannin,
reason
more.
they like can be so tannic though is because of
Yeah,
that
it's kinda
acidity.
hard.
Like
It's like
I don't really prefer heavy
It's
tannic
just
wine, but whenever I drink a Nebbiolo, it's never like to me too much tannin. It's like that was nice. That was a nice introduction to actually liking it.
Italian.
Yeah.
It's hard to spell.
At least for me personally.
So the specs again are on Google Docs, but it says that it's medium bodied, medium fruit, medium earth, medium tannins, medium acid, medium oak. I'm trying again for the oak.
So everybody's saying it's high acid, right?
Yeah.
Not medium. That's what everybody's saying, right?
Well, what I wonder, are they going off like the general spectrum of just reds, or are they going off the spectrum of
Going off
wines in general?
What they're tasting after they've tasted like 47 other wines, when like the wine, you know, like when the wine cellar guy comes and they taste all those things.
Well, like when I said, like, if you have like just a spectrum of reds can only hit like this range. If you have the spectrum of all wines, it's like this range, right? So if you have like a German Riesling, that shit will like burn your tongue basically because it's so acidic. I think that's gonna be way down here, but
I think it,
I've
like,
never
for
had
me,
red
it
that
smells,
hits me as part of that.
I think it's all relative. Everybody tastes different things.
for me it smells more acid driven than it actually.
Yeah.
Tastes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I smell
I was just
chemicals.
saying like the tannin
Sure.
itself, like it's like hidden.
It's real, but like my face is broken. But
So the pyro story here kind of leads into the Roero region. The Roero region gets its name from the Conti Roero family, who lived there in the 14th century before 1000 AD. The region was covered by sea, leading the sandy and calcareous soil found in the area now. In fact, it's common to find fossils in the vineyards. The label represents a Roero tradition turret and a wheel from Conti Roero family coat of arms, and an angel and a dragon bound to the wheel. The same emblem welcomes visitors at the gates of the winery. Tasting notes says violet, strawberry, raspberry, black currants on the nose, with persistent but approachable tannins, intense fruit, and hints of vanilla. Calcareous clay and sandy soil. In the two vineyards, fermentation is conducted in stainless steel, followed by 20-month aging in French oak and another 12 months in bottle for release.
So you repeat the aging.
All of these are all on Google Docs. I didn't print them, I'm sorry.
It's this
I didn't even know we had this.
It's pretty easy drinking medium bodied.
Yeah.
Can like,
The smell
We have
throws me off.
Trinta too, right? Which is,
Okay.
I think, in 2006.
yeah, we have a couple ones that are like underneath
Yeah.
the liquor.
Oh, there's the angel on there and the
Dragon?
I know, I really
Yeah,
like the ball.
Bound to the wheel.
There is a wheel, but is that a dragon or a snake?
It's a dragon.
It's dragon.
Your Game of
See his face.
See,
Where's
this
his face?
doesn't taste.
It's an ugly dragon.
I
It's
just
in
think
there.
the teeth. 2006.
Oh, I was looking back there.
Oh yeah, no. That looks nice.
Got
Looks like
dinner
a-
reservations at the precinct.
There you go.
It's just label.
You see Joe Burrows.
Yeah, I
Joe
like the
Burrow.
gold.
They go there a lot.
And the font.
I've sent my kids pasta.
Yeah.
Use the recycling.
You're good minds.
Yeah, I'm off
And it's all
next.
Yeah.
editing
You
prices
set up
at
on it.
fucking all.
You
No.
want to finish that on
No.
that game?
You want a closer meal?
Oh.
Seriously?
Like, I'm like, no,
Like
you
a
don't
joke or like
what about
actually?
me?
I don't know.
I'm
Yeah, it's a
home.
good.
This was.
I'm cleaning.
Yes,
And I'm sleeping.
Okay. Reel it in.
Check.
So, Roero region, on the left-hand side of the Tenaro River, again, this is just like information that I found. So it's on the left-hand side of a river, Roero region. On the right-hand side is Longue. So they literally border each other and the Tenaro River runs between them. Roero is known for having their vineyards intermixed with fruit and vegetable gardens, woods, and orchards.
Orchard, apple orchard.
Yeah, orchards. So that region itself is actually more known for like harvesting fruit and vegetables than it is for wine production. And that's because the soil has sandstone of marine origin, limestone, little clay, and mostly sand, which makes the ground loose and soft for great permeability. So Hillary, like you're saying, like from that region, it always seems like more and more exacerbated. I'm wondering if it has to do with because it gets more water because the soil's so.
Well, it's
looser.
kind of like when we talk about like Valpolicella and Bartolino, like they're like near each other and similar, kind of like the same thing. But I just feel like whenever it's the Roero, it's always just
Well,
not for me.
like soil, I'm a nerd, so I went to a soil science class in school. Like, it's a balance of sand, silt, clay at the end of the day. So like the more sand there is, the less ability the soil has to hold nutrients. So like it can be good in wine production when you have a soil where it's really sandy, but there's some clay worked in there because that can hold organic matter and that holds nutrients for plants. But the harder those plants have to work, the better the vines
Yeah, and
are.
that's what
So-
makes like the roots grow like deeper.
yeah, so that's what forces the plants to like have to like those plants need to be stressed and like forced to look for water rather than like being watered all the time like on a drip system, because then they don't grow the right the right roots to produce the fruit that we want and stuff like that. But yeah, just a side note, the whole soil structure thing, just to kind of, think about like when it's a sandy soil, that plant's probably going to be working hard. If it's got a lot of organic material around it, it has a lot of nutrients.
So this says the marine originality because just keep in mind, like we said before, this area is all the underwater. So the marine originality makes this soil structure poor in organic matter but rich in mineral salts. Another difference with this area is the climate itself. It's high temperature during the day means that the fruit ripens, and then low temperature at night means that it's preserved properly. That's probably the same as Longue, or similar.
I'll be right back, Lauren.
Bye, little Rosie.
I'm just getting it.
Okay. So like I said before, like this area is more known for like harvesting fruits and vegetables. But the vineyards there are 95% Nebbiolo for red and 95% Arnaise for white varietals. So they mostly only grow Nebbiolo and Arnaise in Roero if they're growing wine. And obviously we offer the Roero Arnaise on our menu by Bruno Giacosa as a white.
We probably have the Malvira Arnaise too somewhere. Used to be the last.
Oh yeah, probably.
And then Glera is grown in Piemonte, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but in Roero,
Oh yeah. Not in Roero.
Not as much. So like our Nebbiolo, Malvira, Upper Espumante, grown here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The sandy soil structure gives Nebbiolo a soft tannic structure and a readiness to drink without compromising its ageability. So this is like a good example. Like the tannins are well incorporated into this glass pour itself, but I feel like they finish pretty strong. But it's a 2005, so it's not compromised. Like the aging process of it isn't compromised, even by the sandy structure. Move on to Boca.
Oh yeah.
Why do you want to dump? Or you want
I
another
want
glass
to try
of
them
wine?
all
Oh,
side by
okay.
side later on. That's why I'm keeping.
Mika, will you grab another wine glass out of there? There's a ghetto one on the top shelf. Are you just gonna skip that? That's me.
I'm sorry. I'm not awake yet. I'm not right.
You have an array of wine glasses now. Ghetto? Interesting.
Not a
High
flower
end.
pot.
And every day I think one of the ones.
Yeah. Y'all drink as much wine as you want. This thing coming
Oh shit! I can't wait to that.
She's
Yeah.
126.
I still get a whole wine.
Don't you live in like Fields Earl?
I live 10 minutes from her.
Oh,
Yeah.
super far away.
Fields Earl. What the heck?
I
That's so
thought
far.
that's where you live.
That's where I live. I live.
Yeah. I
Where do you live?
in Gloucester.
That's an adventure.
Yeah, because I live right off the highway. I like literally live right off Ronald Reagan.
Uh-huh.
So from
Spelina
her, she lives right off
Or
the highway, so it's really 10 minutes.
I
But
thought it was
from
Croatia,
it's like
no?
20
Yeah,
West
something
End.
like
I used to
that.
live-
Yeah,
I
so
used to live
just
back
when I
there.
checked Croatia, so that's
Where, where?
Which I thought Boca had to have
It
Herrera.
used to be a grocery store back there, but it's gone.
And like
Back in that little area where they do like
Ooh.
taste of goulash back
They
there.
have like a mixing grape.
What was it
Which is
called?
I don't know what it's called. I
It's
like literally
called, I can't even
was
call it, it used
typing
to be called Regent
I'll
Square.
just go
Oh,
over
It's
it.
got a different name now.
Huh.
I think it's
right by the
there.
Kroger and the
Oh,
Target.
it's in
Remember
there.
the
Oh,
little
okay.
fight that we did? From the,
Yeah.
that store.
The Majorino.
Yeah, because I remember.
You better not be
I
the same
could
one.
never remember Vesperina.
What's his permit?
Alright, so what's y'all's meal?
Sounds like a car from Fiat.
I live 3.3 miles.
Okay.
Josh meal. Leather for me. It's the
Let me
leather.
smell it.
Leather for show.
Spices.
Different type of spice.
It's like she's like, no.
Green spice or
Yeah.
like pepper.
What's the spice from Dune?
I get pepper. What's the spice from Dune?
Yeah, pepper.
Is this one a blend or is it all
It's a
Nebbiolo?
blend.
80, 15, 5? No, 65.
Ooh, it's heavier than I was expecting. And this is Lincoln's favorite.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like.
She'll be ordering this soon.
I'm a sucker for anything Mapiane. I feel like all of their stuff has a little bit of pepperiness to it.
I feel like that would be a good pairing with like the bistec or the scotadino
Oh
though.
yeah.
We used to have
Or
magnums
even
of
like
that.
peppery
Really?
like with
With
the
the
arugula.
lapine.
I don't like this one.
The Majorina or this one?
The other one.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, the blue label. The blue.
I don't remember the color, but I know we used to have some magnums of it.
That's crazy. I still haven't tried the Boca. No. We tasted that in food service.
So it's always the blue label.
Right.
The Boca, oh
It was
yeah.
on the flight, I thought.
Wait,
No, that was
which
the
one's this
Majorina.
one?
Oh.
Yeah.
The
this is
Mimo?
the
I
Mimo
thought this was the
Boca.
oh,
The
I thought
Mimo
this
is what we
Boca.
have.
So this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah.
Boca, too.
Lapione was my very first Nebbiolo I ever had.
Oh,
It was at Fausto.
That's why you like it.
Never forget your first.
Never forget my first.
So the notes here say it is medium bodied, which just seems heavier bodied to me, but medium bodied, medium fruit, heavy, medium to heavy earth, medium tannins, medium acid, medium oak.
I feel like it's very earthy.
earthy.
I feel like it's
It's very earthy,
Yeah.
especially at the finish.
Nebbiolo vines are 20 plus years of age, while the Vespolina and Croatina are 100 plus years, all around 500 meters above sea level. A unique gravel/volcanic soil structure. Organic farming practices. Picking and sorting is done by hand. Nebbiolo is fermented for 30 days in stainless steel and aged in big barrels for 2 years. The Vespolina and Croatina ferment for 5 days in open wood, then aged 1 year in tonneau.
Told you?
I don't know. And 1 year in Slovenian oak. Malactic fermentation in spring naturally. That's it. That's all I have. Sorry. So, this wine comes from the region of Boca. The region of Boca is one of the smallest and northernmost appellations of Italy, and has one of the most unique terroirs in the world.
One of the most unique what?
Terroirs.
We all know what Boca means, right?
No.
is
Mouth.
What's a terroir?
Terroir is what we were talking about earlier, about the sense of place where you can taste the soil and the part of the world that it's coming from.
So if you study terroirs, are you a terroirist?
Goodbye.
Oh,
Goodbye.
it's time for you to leave.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Get my wine, get out of here.
Sorry.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Two
We'll,
parts
we'll,
of it,
we'll
so-
finish it. It's okay.
Ruined the party.
So one of the reasons that it does have one of the most unique terroirs is because it's greatly influenced by being home to the second highest peak in Europe, Monte Rosa. So it's like extremely mountainous up there. The wines coming from this area tend to be longer aged, complex, and earthy. And that's kind of like what I get from. What is the year on this wine?
2017.
It's not long aged, but it's definitely a complex and an earthy wine.
What was the peak again?
Monte Rosa? Monte with an E, Rosa.
No.
So I assume it just means Red Mountain.
I believe so. Or Pink Mountain. I don't know. I think it's Pink Mountain because it like, when the sun hits it, it's pink. I don't know for sure.
That sounds lovely.
So you
So Nebbiolo in this region is known as Spana. So this is one of the things, obviously, like last class we were talking about how Chianti is, or I'm sorry, Sangiovese is many different names depending on the area. Nebbiolo also has many different names depending on the area. In Boca, it's called Spana.
How do you spell that?
Spanna.
Cool.
And Spana in Italy is the region between your pinky and your thumb. And it goes back to like when people originally were planting vineyards. This is all just from memory. I'm not 100% about this, but when people were planting the vineyards there originally, it had to be like between two trees. They had to have a low, what's it called? Like the low crop and then the high crop. Like when they're trellis. Yeah, they had to have like a low one and a high one. So that's why it's called Spana, is because it was like about distance. Basically, it was like about distance and how they trellis. That's why. Boca is also the place that people believe that Nebbiolo originated, or is the birthplace of Nebbiolo.
It's the birthplace of Nebbiolo?
Yeah, wasn't it forgotten about and then all grown over and then the guy had to like
Yeah.
bring it back
Bring
to
it
life?
back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Super cool.
The guy.
The guy, I don't remember his name.
The guy.
But the old man.
Some Italian guy.
And that
Yeah.
one's I mean, it's the same producer, La Paine, but that they did the Maggiorina one too that we had.
Yeah,
on-
the
Yeah,
on the
but
fly.
That's
We
what I
have
was
the
talking
Dolce
about.
too.
That's
Yeah.
the one that he brought back to life or whatever. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
There's that whole documentary about it. I've looked it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's very entertaining.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this area is surrounded by glacier lakes, and the hills and mountains around this area are of glacier origin, kind of like Cincinnati. Well, not like Cincinnati. We didn't get flattened by the glacier like the rest of Ohio did.
We got all the sediment,
7 Hills.
all the good stuff.
The soil is rich in iron, magnesium, and potassium, and deficient in limestone. It's often referred to as acidic because it has a blood-like presence
Ugh.
because of the high levels of iron.
That's what I don't like about it. Tastes
When I
like a
read that, I
tooth
was-
extraction.
Nice. Well,
I know it.
the region has long, rigid winters with cold winds coming from the Alps and hot, humid summers with high fog. So it sounds to me like it stays
Sounds like Cincinnati.
cold. Except for in the summer, they have short periods of heat but cold nights. Or foggy nights, I guess. In this region, to be considered a DOCG, as we kind of already went over, it needs to be blended. And one of the grapes that it needs to be blended with is the Vespolina, which is what gives it that peppery spice. So what Vespolina is mostly known for is having that like peppery spice to it. And then the Croatina is a mixing grape for color. I think when we did the Boca, he like literally added like, didn't Eric tell us he added like a single grape just to
Just to
say that it
so
has
to
one,
say, yeah.
but he didn't
Yeah.
mix.
Well, that was
'Cause it's-
Uber Rare, wasn't it?
Which one?
It just
A
has
single
to
grape,
have it,
he
but-
added Uber Rare, it's a Vespolina.
No, it wasn't Vespolina because Vespolina gives it like peppery, but I thought it was the one that like adds the color to the wine that he was just like pink.
And that one had 3 grapes, Nebbiolo, Vespolina, and Uber Rare. So I
Oh.
can never remember Vespolina.
Okay, so then the Uvarera was the one that he
Okay.
added like one. Uvarera?
Uva, UVA, it's like UVA, RA.
So those are the notes that I had for the discussion today, and I hope everyone found them helpful. Like I said, all these specs you can find on Google Docs. Is there anything that anyone wants to add about any of the wines that we've tasted today? Does someone want to like spiel? Yeah.
Well, when I was talking about the truffle, and one of the reasons why it goes so well with the truffle, not only is because of like the acid, but because that's where truffles come from. We're not going to get white truffles this year.
We're not.
Chef told me no, we're not, because of like all the shipping things, and it's just not going to work out. So, but like black truffles come from the region too, and so like the guy who used to teach our wine classes always says, what grows together goes together, and so that's why the truffle is always the classic pairing with the Nebbiolo. But like, whenever I train somebody and I talk about wine, I always say that like, you can tell when somebody's like looking at the wine list and like, I don't know what any of this is, and then you ask the question and they're like, it's always a girl like, I like Pinots, I like Cabs. Well,
Yes.
this is both. This is light bodied like a Pinot and heavy tannins like a Cab, and that's what I tell people. You don't know what you want here, get the Nebbiolo, because
Yeah.
obviously
Yep.
you like wine.
Yeah.
But like when somebody says, I like Pinots, I like Cabs, it's always this. It's
Or
like
like,
it's
Yeah.
or like
always.
they say
yeah.
they like cabs, you give them something, and they're like, I want something bigger, and then you're like,
So this is so tannic that like it. I don't know. I just feel like it's
Kind of mimics a full body.
it's got both characteristics of a,
All of them.
yes, so.
Oh, Eric sent me that link to look up the Barolo soil structure. Do you guys want me to pull it
Fuck
up?
yeah.
or
I
next
gotta
time?
go I gotta go home before
Chef.
I work,
Yeah.
Chef.
so I might.
I can pull it up next time when we do the Barolo class.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Okay,
feel
so I'll do it next
I
time.
feel like, yeah.
I made that.
Yeah, because I feel like.
Oh,
okay.
you put together, she is
No, you
not.
can leave everything. If you guys want more pizza, get
Transformation
the
is not
pizza.
complete.
Well, thanks for hosting.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
And everything.
Let me get my laptop.